Hello, everyone. This is Tanya with the Omnia Group. I want to welcome you all to today's session on onboarding. We do have a lot of participants today, so this is definitely a topic that everyone seems to be really interested in, so that is a great thing. Just a couple of little housekeeping before we get started. At the top of your screen, you'll see the little man with his hand raised. Definitely please use that when I ask questions because this is like school where you get points for participation and Carrie, which you all know if you've been to any of our, if you have attended any of our other presentations, she has her eyes on you and she is keeping tally. So, and the person with the most points at the end gets a prize. So definitely we want you to participate. You can use the hand raise when I ask those type of questions, or definitely use our chat box when we're asking survey questions. So to begin, we will start with our first poll. And so what do you think new hires really want in their first week? And we'll give you a second to kind of chime in. All right. Okay. It looks like having a buddy or mentor is winning the race. A not so close second is company tour, equipment, setup, procedure. And then coming in third looks like on the job training. And lastly, review of company policies. Right. You know what employees really want? They want to learn how to do their job and the inner workings of your company. They want to start doing meaningful work and contribute fast. So, all of these are great things. They want to have that buddy, that mentor. So that's great. They want, I need to know where the restroom is. So please please direct me. I don't want to break any rules, so definitely let me know where the line in the sand is. And then that on-the-job training. Definitely, a lot of people learn by actually getting in, getting their feet wet, and actually doing the job. So today, once again, we are going to talk that onboarding for success and trying to avoid the pitfalls. What are the successes? And then what are the strategies that we need to institute to make it successful? Excuse me. So hiring someone to me is like starting a new relationship. The first session we did this year was on recruiting. So you want to think like putting the fillers out there, letting people know that you're available, that you're accepting applications. And then last week's session was the power of interviewing. So that's like going through all the duds. And I bet, raise your hand if you had to go through some duds before you found the right one. So that's what that, power interviewing is. Yes, I see some hands raising because yes, you do go through you have to go through a lot. Like they say, you have to kiss a lot of frogs to get to the prince. And so now this week's session is you have found the one, they said yes, they accepted the offer letter, and now you're finding out, do you really want to invest your time? We are in the honeymoon and settling phases. They're getting to know you and you're getting to know them. And the next week's session that we're going to have is delivering a painless 90-day employee performance evaluation. And that will focus on, are you really ready to commit for the long haul? So that will, do we really want to move forward, talking about moving in together, or is he going to give me the ring? Things like that. We'll talk about, that you'll kind of discover on next week's session. So now I have a poll. So don't forget, participation is the key, and Carrie has her eyes on you. The first question I have is, why is onboarding important? And you can go ahead and use the chat box at the bottom of why you think onboarding is important. I have a lot of people typing in right now. Think about, maybe when you're thinking about why is it important, think about when you have gone through onboarding and where it was like, ooh, I don't think they got it right, or they got it really right. So retention, to make people to make the person feel welcome. Perfect. Michelle, perfect. Darla, y'all are going so fast. So new employees can feel a part of the team. It sets up the tone for the expectations. Staff needs to be on the same page and have the same goals. Brandy, fit into the culture. We're going to definitely hit on that. Sarah, it sets the pace for the new employee, gets them acquainted with the company. Yes, that is perfect. The staff needs to be on the same page and the same goals. That is spot on, Karen. When onboarding is important because employees are your biggest asset. For most businesses, employees can make or break your bottom line. So you want them to be on an emotional high. Emotions are high when employees start a new job. They're all excited and pumped up. And I just want to hit the ground running. I'm feeling good about this. I got this new job. This is the opportune time to capitalize on those emotions and excitement and solidify the commitment your organization has made to your employee, and vice versa through a top-notch employee onboarding process. You also want to get, excuse me, you only get one chance to make a first impression. Day one on the job is where your new employee gets his or her first taste of what the organization is all about from the inside. Remember, this is still our honeymoon and getting to know you phase. They probably still have their resume posted up on LinkedIn, on Career Builder. You want them to take that online resume down. So your first impression, you want to make a good one to make them go home and say, "Yep, I am deleting that Career Builder account because I have found the perfect job." Also, like one of our participants said, getting everyone on the same page. Effective employee onboarding sets the stage of the expectation. We don't want to lower or meet new employee standards. Rather, we want to offer them great experiences so they will in turn exceed expectations in their role. I remember I used to work at a company that it was a call center, but what we did was call on credit cards, call people to try to get them to sign up for credit cards. We were affiliated with a bank. And so even though all of my contact with the individual was done on the phone, our dress code was we still had to dress as if we were in the bank. I mean, men had to wear suits, women had to wear suits, everyone had to be in a very professional, um, pro- had to be dressed professionally. So think about the bank. And I never ever saw a customer, never ever saw a client. All of it was on the phone. But their thinking was if you dress professionally, you're going to act professionally. Your interactions with your coworkers as well as the clients will be professional as well. So you want to set the stage. If we set the stage for greatness, then we send the message that we are expecting greatness and employees will respond as such. And I had since worked, after I left that call center job, I worked at another call center job where that was not the dress code. And you can definitely tell there was a different tone in the room, a different culture, a different vibe. So you want to set the stage. The next question that I have is, when does onboarding start? So when do you think onboarding initially starts? Does it start on the first day? Does it start, after their first 30 days, their first week? Yeah, okay, Julie, as soon as they accept, perfect. Once they're hired, before the applicant is even hired, that's great. The first engagement with the candidate, yes. During the interview process, Jacob, that is correct. The first meeting starts to create impressions. Very good. As soon as the employee is offered the position and has accepted, Lewis, during the pre-employment process. That is the answer. It is during the pre-employment process. Onboarding starts from the first interaction this person has with you. Because think about onboarding is, you want them to feel excited. You want them to be pumped up about coming to work for you and staying and having some tenure and staying there for more than 60 days or 30 days. The onboarding process begins before you hire someone. It continues when you hire the person and when they start working. And a good onboarding continues for a while after the new employee starts. The sooner you begin the onboarding process for new employees, the better your chances of successful, for them to integrate uh, into your culture and into their job so they can get acclimated. So the quicker you can do the onboarding process, and if you think about doing the onboarding process as soon as that first interaction, so that first interview, like Kim talked about, it's them getting to know you, you getting to know them. So that is part of the onboarding process as well. Now, our third question we have is, do you send out welcome packets? This is a quick yes or no. Yes. Oh, I see some no's. Oh, I saw a not yet. So I guess you're getting ready to start sending out welcome packets right after this webinar. I see some no's. Okay. And now the next one is for the people who said yes, what do you put in your welcome packet? As we are getting some answers, you should send out a welcome packet. Welcome packets are part of the introduction to your new hire, to the new employee. And welcome, okay, somebody puts cards, shirts, benefits, info, offer letter, policy, benefits overview. Karen is an employee listing. We're going to talk about that. That's perfect. Tiffany, directions. Definitely key cards, contact list, marketing material. Very good, Tiffany. Brian, information about the company. Yes. Yes. As I'm reading them, benefits information, contact. Yes, all these are great, great answers of what you do need to put into your welcome packet. And all of those things do need to go into the welcome packet. Talk about parking and key cards and directories, so they kind of know the core, the mission, the value statements of the organization. All of that should be included. Great. Debbie says that she gives them all of that after the offer letter. Yes, you want them to accept, and then they have this little secret patch. You give them the secret key, the secret passage into your organization. So definitely I would get the acceptance letter saying them say yes, and then I would give them that welcome packet. So those are great answers. So now let's talk about running some numbers. When we talk about running some numbers, the average cost to fill one professional position, what do you think the average cost is to fill one professional position? Wow, Darla says 100,000, Tiffany 50,000, Brandy, you're in the ballpark, 60 to 10, Jennifer 10, double their salary, Michelle 30, Sarah 5. The average, according to a 2012 Allied Workforce Mobility Survey, is about $11,000. The average cost to fill one professional position is about $11,000. Okay, on average, of all the new hires, how many resign within the first year? What percent do you think of people resign in the first year? Okay, 30%, 15, 20. Okay. We have a lot of different 50, 20. I'm seeing some 20s, 5, Carol. Um, Page 35 to 40. Great. The actual is about 25% of all new hires resign within the first year. And then what percent of companies surveyed in that 2012 survey said that they spend $0 on onboarding? Okay, yeah, the numbers are a lot lower. Everybody's doing 1, 0. 0 is right. 35% of companies surveyed spend $0 on onboarding. So let's look at these numbers for a minute. It cost me $11,000 to fill a position. I have 25% of those people leaving in the first year, and I'm not spending any money in regards to onboarding. So, why do you think people are leaving in the first year? What do you think most people said the reason that they left the organization within the first year? Don't feel connected? Yes. Not properly trained, onboarding, culture, misunderstood expectations, no training, unappreciated. All of that is correct. And all of that ties into onboarding. The top reason cited by employees on why they left was onboarding. Onboarding and it has all of that, encases all of that, making sure that I understand what my job is, ensuring that there is some type of structure. I understand my manager's expectations. I understand my company's expectations. I know I have the tools and equipment that I need to be successful. So all of that is on onboarding. So all the answers that you all gave were wonderful because all of that is in onboarding. So now let's talk about the elements of the onboarding process. The first thing we need is organizational commitment. And that organizational commitment is strength of the feeling of responsibility that an employee has towards the mission of the organization. So we need commitment from them, but then again, your organization also has to be committed to this process. They have to be committed to onboarding. We saw in the numbers that, people are leaving because they don't feel like they got enough information on the front end. So let's make sure that they have that information, and it comes from the top down. The top down has to realize the importance of onboarding, and then we have to have a plan to do that. The next element we have is career pathing. A lot of employees want to know, where can I move? What other opportunities do I have here? There are some employees that will like to be in the position, for 20, 30, 40 years, this same position. I don't want to make a change. But then there's also employees that do want to move and get promoted and do different things. But whether you're one of the employees that want to stay in that same job or employee that wants to move in different directions, both of them want to feel growth. If I'm in my job for 20 years, I would like to have some continuing education type training. You know, Businesses change, or the culture changes, and we have to change with it. So if you have someone that started with you 20 years ago, the outside world looks a little different. So we have to keep training and have that ongoing training, to make sure that they're staying current with the times, with the industry trends. The next piece is continuity. When we're talking about the onboarding process, we want to have some continuity. We want the process to be the same. We don't want them to feel like they're the lone wolf out there. That there is, we have this process in place, and this is, we go from A to B, B to C, C to D, and it has that type of flow, and it works that way for everyone. So it's not a big jolt when a new employee starts. If the other employees already know what the new hire onboarding process looks like, then they won't be surprised when you have someone come into their office and shadow them. You want communication. Mean what you say what you mean, ensure your actions match your intention. So you want to make sure that everything meshes and everything is clear. And then feedback. Feedback is so important in regards to, you want to give them feedback, but you also want to listen to the feedback. Because with that feedback, you can better evaluate how your onboarding process is. And do I need to make any changes in regards to the onboarding process? Now, let's talk about the best practices. When we're talking about onboarding, go ahead and type in some of the best practices that you all have already instituted. I see Mandy, buddy system. That is I love the buddy system. A mentor, checklist. Tiffany, that is perfect. Training handbooks, new employee lunches. We're going to talk about the lunches, the 2-day orientation, dedicated trainers. People do like that consistency, continuity. They want things to be the same. So that's nice. Hiring orientation, training schedules. All of these are great. When we think about the mission and when we think about best practices, the first thing I think about is the welcome packet, which we talked about earlier, which was one of our little survey questions. When we think about the welcome packet can be mailed or emailed. So depending on the way your company operates, you can either mail them a welcome packet, which is nice because you can have a personalized note in there to make them feel part of the team, or you could email the packet. The welcome packet should definitely be sent before the first day. You want them to kind of understand, what they're entering, what the culture that they're coming into. And what you include in that welcome packet is basically the company bio. You want them to know the mission, the vision. You also, if you have a newsletter, you don't want them to think that you're sending them something for homework. So let's not inundate them with too much information in the welcome packet because we do want them to show up on the first day. So we don't want them to feel like they're back in school and they're going to have, their final exam on their first day on all the information that you sent them. But you do want to give them some information about the company. So so with the company bio, a newsletter, or if there is an industry newsletter that you all subscribe to, I would send that to them. That would be wonderful. And then also in that information, parking. I know one job I came to, it was a big company, and so when I came in for the interview, I could park in the visitor because I wasn't an employee. So it was kind of easy. But when I showed up for the first day, I had no clue where to park because there was reserved parking everywhere. I wind up parking on a side street because I didn't want my car to get towed. I didn't want, I definitely didn't want to park in the president's spot because I don't know, they were just numbers with reserved on it. So I didn't want to get called out for saying, "Hey, could you move your car? The president's trying to park." So let them know about parking if it's a little difficult, or and then who will be meeting them their first day. Because I've also, with that same company, I came in, the receptionist didn't know that I was coming in that day. And I didn't know who I was supposed to ask for. So I just asked for the person that interviewed me because that's the name that I knew. So you want to know who will be meeting them there, and then also give them a schedule in that welcome packet because so they kind of know how that day is going to look, even if it's just a one, the schedule for that day. Let them know at least that first day what that day looks like. That would be very beneficial because now they can kind of wrap their head around what needs to be done, what type of preparation they need for that first day. And then the second best practice that I have, excuse me, is let's talk about the first day. Okay, so now the employee is going to come. We want to make sure that their office and cubicle is complete. I mean, let's talk about their computer setup, their email is set up, their phone line is set up, their voicemail is set up. Everything is set up. They have their stapler, tape dispenser, pens, paper clips, everything that they need, have it all ready to go. And then also a nice touch is to order the business cards. Have the business cards sitting on their desk. For 1,000, it typically costs about around $50. I mean, that's not that big of an investment for some, and because what you'll get in return is ownership. Now this person feels I am really a part of the team. So I will pay $50 for that. I will pay $50 for that person to feel a part of my team because now it's going to be that much harder for them to leave me because we did give you business cards. Not saying that the business cards are going to keep them there, but it's definitely a nice gesture, and it puts them in a nice frame of mind. So have their business cards there. Paperwork, get the new, we all know we have new hire paperwork, but once again, maybe you want to break that up. They don't have to sit with the HR person for the first 4 hours of the day. Give them some variety. Maybe we do a little bit of paperwork and then we go on the tour. I know a lot of you all said that about doing the office tour and the go-to introductions. I like in my go-to introductions when I take the person around to different departments, explaining to them this is the person that you go to for such and such. Like here, Tony Curtaccio is our IT person. So when bringing on a new person, I'm going to say Tony Curtaccio is your IT person. If you're having problems with your email, if you're having problems with the website, if you're having any technical computer, if it's with the computer, email Tony, and I'm going to show them Tony. And then, we have Cynthia Brooke. She is our benchmarking specialist. So as I'm going around to the different departments, if you want to know anything about how to build a job, what traits you need for the job, talk to Cynthia Brooks. She is our go-to benchmarking specialist. And then we have Carletta Clyett. She's our VP of sales. If you have anything to do with sales, talk this is your go-to person for sales. So having that type of information when you're going around introducing, so not just showing, like I said earlier, I want to know where the bathroom is. Also, let them know what people do in the different departments and why would I need to go talk to Tony? Why would I need to go talk to Coletta? Or why would I need to go talk to Cynthia? Let me know as a new employee how my position is intertwined with theirs and why I would need to go talk to them. And then I know who to go talk to. So I don't feel like a fish out of water and don't have any direction. Then also, you know, is you want to have some type of mentoring program. And I know I saw a lot of people say that it should be introduced early on in the onboarding process as a way for employees to build relationships while learning more about the company culture and career opportunities. So you want to have someone that they can go to. You want to have the mentor that's kind of probably been there for a while, that knows everything, or knows a lot of people, knows about the different departments and how they interact with each other. So that could be the mentor. And then the last piece on the first day is lunch and debriefing. You want to do, let's start with lunch. You want to have a lunch for the individual. You don't want them to really do lunch on their first day by themselves. If you can, it would be nice if the department that they're going to work in can all go to lunch together. If not, then let's get some senior leadership, senior management people. Let's get them to take them to lunch. Or maybe you have an in-house lunch. I know here we utilize some nonprofits that is basically it's about $9 a person and the whole company, so it's $9 per person. We all have lunch together for with the new employee. And so sometimes you get that interaction when we're not sitting in our office, to really build that rapport and that relationship. Sometimes you need to do it outside of the office, outside of those four walls. And lunch is a nice, easy way for them to introduce so they don't feel like they're necessarily on stage and they're not the only one, there, but together, everyone together, just talking. That can be a nice way to introduce a new employee and to make that new employee feel comfortable. And then you also want to have a debriefing. You want to find out how their first day went. What was your expectations? Did we meet your expectations? Is this kind of what you thought it would look like? So you want to have that debriefing so you can then set up the rest of the week, if you have to make some changes and things like that. The second piece, or the third piece of our best practices, is setting and managing expectations. So you've had that debriefing, they've gone now, now we're talking about weeks, now we're talking about the second day moving forward. Let's create a timeline. We want to create a timeline of expectations so they kind of know what to expect from us. We know what to expect of them, and they kind of know when we expect these things to be done. You then want to have them shadow different departments. This is so nice during onboarding because then I know how one department affects the other department. Now you are bringing on a more well-rounded person once they get into the position. They understand how sales works. They understand how service works. They understand how billing or accounting works, when they're talking to customers. So now they're coming from a place of knowledge. So when a customer has a question, they will be more apt to handle it and quicker. So that's better customer service. And we all know customer service is paramount in regards to retaining customers and adding money to the bottom line, basically. And then the next piece is, once again, I can't say it enough, you'll see this a lot, ask for feedback. When you're setting and managing expectations, you want to understand, you want to know where that new employee is at. Are they getting what we are saying? Do they understand what we're trying to accomplish here? And ask for feedback, like what would help you? It's almost like that thing, help me help you. That's why you're asking for that feedback. You want them to give you information that can, one, make your onboarding process better, and two, make their success here percent go up. And then lastly, you want to do that 30, 60, 90-day review. Now, again, Kim will be talking about that next week in our next session, but you want to, on the onboarding piece, you want them to know that there is a 30, 60, 90-day review. You should not get to 90 days and this person has no clue as to what's been going on. Having those 30 and 60 days is great because 30 days they've been there for weeks, so they should know some things. You should start being able to see their work ethic, their workflow, their work product. And then that 60 days is a great time for you to kind of, we saw the first 30 days, so we saw where there were some challenges that we need to address. So now in the 60 days, we'll see if they have addressed those challenges. And then the 90-day, well, that's when we have to accept the ring or not accept the ring. But definitely Kim will go into that more next week. But you want to manage their expectations. I like to have, let them know, will you have one-on-ones? I like to have one-on-ones. How often will they occur? Who will schedule them? What's the format and how are the topics selected? That's the type of information you want to give them. Individual meetings can definitely improve morale by helping that new employee utilize excuse me, utilize the information. And that will help them realize, that they are valued, that their feedback is being heard. High morale generates a positive work environment. And when you use those one-on-one sessions to inquire about, the new employee's goals, skills, and interests, you will be able to then plan out those 30, 60, 90 days. You'll be able to help them with their career pathing. You will be able to help them get engaged because now you know what they want, you know what they like, you know what motivates them, and now we can work towards that. And it would help to let them know about the open door policy. Does the manager have an open, as the manager, do you have an open door policy? If I do have an issue or concern, how do I go about addressing it? If the new employee has an idea of improving on something, what is the most effective way for me to communicate that? So those are the types of things that you want to get out here when we're talking about setting and managing expectations. So now I have a quick little poll that poll number 2, if we could get that moved over, Carrie. Poll number 2 will talk about how much, excuse me, how much money do you think is wasted on ineffective onboarding? People are going a lot with the 5 to 10,000, and then we have coming in second 1 to 5,000. Actually, it's a 10,000 plus. That's how much money we waste on ineffective onboarding because one, we already know average is $11,000 to rehire people. And then that doesn't talk about the lost revenue, doesn't talk about the lost productivity, the lost morale. All of that affects your bottom line when we're talking about ineffective onboarding. Because when you have ineffective onboarding, the person is more likely to leave, which means you're going to have to rehire, you're going to have to retrain. So having a great onboarding process is wonderful. And so you want to avoid the pitfalls. And so to avoid the pitfalls. And if we go back to the presentation, Carrie, we'll talk about some of those pitfalls that we want to avoid. And the first pitfall we want to avoid is information dumping. Just like on that welcome packet, when you don't want them to get the welcome packet and feel like they have homework on their first day, first week. You don't want them to sit with the HR person for 4 hours straight and just have a bunch of information just thrown at them. Or when you're teaching them, you don't want to have a bunch of information just given to them. You want the little pieces, they will retain more than big chunks. No one can, know backwards and forwards the book on War and Peace. But if you give it to me in chapters, I'll be able to retain it a little more. The fallout, if by committing this pitfall, is sensory overload and nothing is retained. Everything after the first chapter is lost. And then I'm going to go home feeling defeated because, well, if they gave me an 8-hour lecture and he talked the whole 8 hours, he must thought that I could retain all that information, but I know I didn't retain the information. So now I'm feeling bad about myself. And if I don't have, if I'm feeling bad about myself when I show up the next day, I'm not going to be as confident. So you don't want to information dump on your new employee. So how do you fix that? You want to spread it out, give breaks. Maybe a couple hours with HR, and then then do a departmental tour, and then maybe go over a couple of help go into their office, helping them set up their email signature lines or their voicemails. Have doing different things throughout the day. So the first during the onboarding, there should be a lot of variety. They should have it in little pieces. Think about building blocks. So you don't want to give them the whole house all at once, but you want to start laying the foundation for everything else to build on top of. So when you're thinking about onboarding, and I know some of you all said you don't have an onboarding process, and when you're thinking about creating that onboarding process, think about it as a house, laying the foundation. What makes sense for this person to do first? What is the first that, what's the ground floor? Usually the ground floor is them understanding our mission, our vision, our bread and butter. That's the foundation. What is keeping our business afloat? Make sure that they understand that piece. The second pitfall that you want to avoid is culture integration. You want to ensure that you do have that. Sometimes, you know, people or offices, companies have the new employee feeling like the kid who got picked last. You definitely don't want your new employee to feel like they're the one standing on the court waiting for someone to pick them. So, give them the inside scoop. I said scoop, not gossip. So I don't want to, we don't need any water cooler gossip going on, but we do want to give them the inside scoop. Like, the person in the office who always has good candy. Or, if you have a headache, this is the person to go to. She always has a pill for you, or, she always has aspirin or, a Tylenol for you. So just the little nuggets that make the office your home, that makes it comfortable for you. So giving them those little pieces would be beneficial. The fallout when you don't is the loss of morale and productivity. If I feel like I'm, the last one to get picked on the playground, I'm not necessarily going to go to my office and attack the job. I'm not going to necessarily be the first one to raise my hand with great new suggestions because I feel deflated. So, to fix that, you definitely want to communicate. You want to have a strong communication in regards to, uh, you know, who has the best candy. You know, you want to be upfront and honest. You want them to have a clear expectation. The reality is we spend 9 to 10 hours a day with our coworkers, and it's important to have solid relationships behind that. Culture, it can be conveyed through company values, senior leadership, employees, and the relationships and the communications present throughout the workday, throughout the office. Creating the opportunities for new hires to interact with the team, to help them build relationships while immersing them in the culture. So that goes back to that lunch, giving them that lunch, making sure that, that they have a pathway to their manager, that they can feel free to creating that environment of feeling free to be honest and upfront when they're talking. Although, I mean, I definitely understand that it can be challenging to set this time aside, it is definitely an effective way to help and welcome the new employee on board. To have that communication for them to feel comfortable in talking, and then you feeling comfortable in talking to them is very beneficial. Now, the next pitfall is thinking of onboarding as an event and not a process. Onboarding is a process. It's not this one time, 1 day, 2 day event that happens and then, oh, there you go. You're on your own. The fallout is the new hire feels lost and starts to disengage. You want to have daily, then weekly, then monthly debriefing sessions. The first week you definitely want to be talking to them daily to make sure that they have everything that they need, that this is what they expect. Because don't forget, that first 90 days is important. People leave a lot during that first 90 days because remember, they still have their application online. They still have their resume online. So you want to make sure that they're pulling that down. Remember, you're thinking about this person for the long haul, and so that takes some time. You want them to feel that you are vested in them so they will stick around. Basically, you want them to take down that online profile. And so because they know they're the right fit, and you do not do this and you do this by not throwing them to the wolves after day one, setting them up, closing the door, and saying, and kind of hoping for the best. Some surveys actually say onboarding takes up to a year for the person to get truly acclimated to the new environment. And then the last pitfall that we want to avoid is not having or a focused onboarding process. You want to make sure that you have a process in place that works, that's focused, that's going towards your goal. Turnover, loss, and productivity and revenue are what's going to happen if you don't have that great onboarding process in place. The fix is the checklist, goals, and then managers. Everyone needs to be involved. Best in class organizations in regards to employee engagement, retention, and productivity are more likely to have a formal onboarding program in place. And that goes beyond that, new hire orientation. A lot of times people get orientation and onboarding mixed up. Orientation is the couple hours that they're spending with HR going over the paperwork, getting them oriented. Onboarding is the process of retaining that employee, keeping them engaged, giving them all the necessary tools, and not just the physical tools like a computer and a keyboard, but the emotional in regards to making them feel part of the team. That's what onboarding is. Formal onboarding programs outline the activities that are to occur, are to occur in the first 90 days or longer. When creating the plan, specify what, when, and how each onboarding is to happen, the objectives, and who should be involved. So when you're creating your onboarding process, first you want to know, who's going to be involved in the onboarding, and everyone should be involved, especially senior leadership. It should not just be HR. HR should not be your only person that's handling onboarding. Everybody should be handling onboarding, their coworkers, the department heads, and senior management. So let's talk about some key strategies in regards to onboarding and making sure that it works for us. First, you want to, I know we all know about the goal setting: specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, time bound. We've probably heard SMART goals, you know, 8 million different ways all the time on different webinars. I definitely understand that. But when we're talking about the key strategy number one, defining your goals and objectives, I just put this up there so you want, just kind of keep that in the back of your mind. But, like I've mentioned before, employee engagement is definitely a key driver in onboarding. But additionally, goals will be to increase the retention rate and shorten the time of ramp up. You want them to be able to hit the ground running as fast as possible, which will help you. More specifically, you want to create a welcoming environment for the new employee. So that goes with that welcome packet, having someone there to greet them. You want to provide the logical information and tools that the employee needs, the computer, the directory that we all said, and if you have a directory, also like to put pictures with the individual, like this is the go-to person for this department, and put the picture up, put the picture on the directory. So sometimes people are visual, so they kind of can match the name with the face. Orient the employees to the culture of the organization. Make them feel welcome. Let them know that Fridays are dress down days. Let them know about the unsaid rules. Like we typically get off early on Good Friday, or the day before Thanksgiving. We usually get out early. This is not a written rule, but giving them those little tidbits of information will help them. Provide required job skills training. You have your skills training, also giving them opportunities for some e-learning training, like Excel IQ is very beneficial. Setting goals and expectations for the new employee, letting them know what your expectations are, and then ensuring the new employee receives coaching and mentoring throughout the onboarding process. All of it should, it shouldn't just be one day. It shouldn't just be this is it. It should be throughout the process, actually throughout their tenure. All employees want that growth. So onboarding should continue for a while. And now the second key strategy we're going to talk about is developing high quality and engaging training and performance support materials. So you want to do it in different modes, different ways of communicating the information. You definitely don't want to stand up there and teach the whole time, just someone lecturing to them. You want to provide them some self-study, some self-reflection. Sometimes people need a moment to kind of read it, take it in. That's helpful. Audio visual. Like I said, some people are visual people. So having that is very beneficial. And like Excel IQ, that online e-learning training that's very interactive, that has someone speaking to them that they can kind of take notes. That is a great way and an effective use of technology that can definitely engage new employees in the onboarding. An e-learning system like Excel IQ provides great informative training and is a great way of teaching new skills in a fun and engaging way. And then you have demonstrations. You want them to, you demonstrate what success in this job looks like. Then discussion. Let's have a dialogue back and forth about what we're seeing, what we're doing, and then practice by doing. That's the best way. Some people do need to kind of get in there and feel how the buttons feel and really get down into it to really feel like they take ownership in the position. So you want to do that as well. So you want to have all of these strategies. You want to have all of these techniques when you're talking about onboarding an employee. Strategy number three is support. You want to have everyone should be involved. So you want to have it from the top down. You can have the best plan with the greatest training, the greatest material, and still have an ineffective onboarding program if the people who need to implement it do not support it. Get the hiring managers input during the developmental stage and request their feedback as well when we're talking about implementing an effective program. We want to have everyone's information. We want to have everyone's input. Also, ensure that the managers have training on coaching and mentoring new employees. Sometimes, we just have managers that have come up in the ranks and they don't necessarily, and sometimes we don't necessarily spend that time to train our managers on how to mentor and train employees. In addition to coaching new employees, they should also assign and train peer coaches to assist and mentor new employees. So that's how you help other people that are coming up the ranks. You probably have a lead person in that department who doesn't necessarily have the lead title, but because they've been there or because they're so good at their job that they kind of know. So maybe they could be the mentor or the lead person that can help and assist the employee. The next strategy we have is accountability. And accountability breeds responsibility. Hold new employees accountable for their own onboarding as well. This does not all fall on your shoulders. I know I've talked a lot about everything that you need to do with my finger pointing, but no, it also, some of the new employee does have to take some responsibility. The onboarding program should not be a one-way street with HR and the hiring manager on the telling and giving end. The new hire is all, and with the new hire being on the receiving end. Engage and empower new employees by providing a list of activities and action steps they need to accomplish during the phase of the program. So, why I said in the beginning on that welcome packet, you don't want them to feel like they have homework, but during the onboarding phase, they should be thinking about these things. You do want to give them a little homework in regards to what they can bring to the table. Because I like to say, when you hire someone new, this is a great opportunity to have someone look at your business through fresh eyes and, give them that task. What do you see here that that could be improved upon? Because sometimes when we're in it day to day, we don't see, you know, the things that we could change or tweak. The hiring manager should ensure that time is set aside for these activities. So, you want to give them the time to do it. If we've asked them to do it, make sure that we're giving them enough time to do it. And then also follow up with them. And the fifth strategy is finish what you started. As with any program, follow up is key. You will need to evaluate whether it's meeting your goals and objectives. Talk to the hiring managers to get their feedback about what they thought about the program and talk to the new employee and see if there's any revisions that need to be made. And finally revise your program based on the feedback that you receive. If you do that, you will be successful because success is in the follow-up. And when we talk about strategy number 6, it's about communication. Communicate a clear and formal plan of your program to the new employee. Effective communication is often the most important attribute of successful organizations, leaders, and employees. So you want to ensure that, you have that and that the person is understanding exactly what their expectation is, understanding what the mission is, understanding what the vision is. It is imperative to realize the value of communication during the onboarding process. New employees' perceptions begin to develop during that process, and that can dramatically influence how they feel about your organization. And lastly, when we talk about key strategies, you want to be flexible. Now, we've gotten the feedback, we've communicated things or communicated information. Now, let's be flexible. Once you've heard all that, don't be so rigid that, okay, day 2, we're supposed to cover chapters 4 through 5. Well, on day 1, I didn't get through chapters 3. We may have to push the schedule back. So be flexible. Remember, you're dealing with an individual. So, and different individuals learn at different rates. So be flexible and knowing that, it's okay if we have to push some things back. Or maybe you have an employee that likes to speed things up. I know when I started here, they gave me the training manual and I went through like the first 8 chapters because I was excited. And so when they were training me, I was like, okay, I did that. I did that. I did that. I got that. Let's go ahead and test me on this. So be flexible and, sometimes you may need to speed up, sometimes you may need to slow down. So in conclusion, you want to solidify their excitement during the onboarding process. You want to make them feel a part of the team. You don't want them to be the lonely kid on the playground. And the way you do this is by doing that luncheon, by introducing them to different people, talking about their interests outside of work, getting to know them as a person is beneficial. I know when you were interviewing, we couldn't ask, do you have any kids? But now they're hired. So find out about their kids, find out about their spouses. This is the time to make them feel part of the team, and this is the time that you can ask those questions. You want to start early. Onboarding, like a lot of people said, should begin at that first interaction. Onboarding is not an individual, excuse me, is not an individual sport or event. One person should not be doing your onboarding, and it should not be a one-day onboarding process. This is, think this is for the long haul. This you're trying to create tenure, you're trying to create retention. So think about it that everyone needs to be involved for that to happen. And then keep lines of communication open and flowing in both directions. You want to create that dialogue. I want to thank everyone for joining. Don't leave the webinar just yet. I know you think it's the end, but we have to find out who won. That's my contact information if you have any questions in regard to onboarding, Omnia, or Excel IQ. And if Carrie can bring over the last slide for me, we can say who won. And she is typing now. The winner of our free online learning course goes to, drum roll, do 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 do, my Tasha. She is, or Tarsha. I'm sorry if I mispronounced your name. She is our winner for the employee orientation and onboarding course. You can also see here the courses that we have. We talk about communication. I talked a lot about that today. Um, Delegation, conflict resolution, customer service. If you have any questions while we are ending the session, definitely type them into the comment field and I will get those answered for you. But the other courses we have is stress management, sales basics and success, project management, personal growth. Definitely feel free to contact me if you have any questions in regards to the Excel IQ, the onboarding. Um, Give me a call. I can get those answered for you. Also, what we have on the page is a sample checklist that I talked about. So things that I talked about that you want to make sure that's in your onboarding process. And then again, the presentation is there for you as well. I'm glad I hope your wheels are turning in a good way, Michelle. Charlie, I see that. Does anyone measure productivity curve advancements within the first 6 months? I believe, I want to make sure I understand your question. When I was doing research for the presentation, the productivity does go up when you have a successful onboarding process. When the person feels immersed in the culture, when they feel that they are part of a team, it does add to the productivity because it adds to their confidence and the ability to do the job. And if they have a question, they know who to go to, and that's all part of the productivity piece. And excuse me, that's all part of the onboarding piece. Oh, thank you. It's nice. Yeah, I saw you. Thank you. Hi. And don't forget, we do, Kim Bussey will be giving the session next Thursday, and that's on the 90-day review process. So that will again be the process of are you going to give them the ring? Are you going to ask for their hand? Okay, Charlie has a question. Is there some software out there that will take the new employee on a journey throughout a few learning segments for a couple of weeks, which helps bring brand and philosophy, policy, and procedure? Well, in regards to, yes, there are. A piece of it would be Excel IQ in regards to the learning segments. In regards to your brand and your philosophy, policy, and procedure, that's more so coming from you, but there are some companies that I know that can help you with an online piece for that brand and philosophy, policy, and procedures. So I know there are a few companies out there that do that as well. And if you email me, I will send you a couple of their names. But I know in regards to the learning segments, Excel IQ would be perfect for that. Yes, Debbie, there is the download of the presentation. On this screen, on the left-hand side, it's the takeaways. It says download here. If you click on the second one that says onboarding for success presentation, that's my presentation. And Carrie is also recording the session as well. The the HRIS systems, I believe there are. I will, if you shoot me an email, I will research that and can send you an email back.